The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling this morning. We're also simulcasting on Facebook at Tide 109, the Martin Houston live page, Martin Houston personal page, Alabama One Tradition, as well as on on YouTube at Martin Houston Live and Twitter at Martin Houston 35. All of those are options for you to tune into the program. And don't forget, if you want to take us with you wherever you go, you can also include us on, listen to us on that Tide 109 app. Listen to this great station all day long. And if you have to be stuck at your desk, go ahead and log in to tide109.com. Great audio there. And hey, then if you're looking for some reading pleasures, check out Tide 109 and our page with the great articles listed there. Remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Really not anything happening in the sports world, so we'll try to make it through, suffer through this no news Thursday. Just kidding. Lots of things happening in the sports world, and we'll be bringing that to you here in just a moment. Want to invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline, 205-342-9904. The Alabama One hotline is open for business. Let's bring in X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston. How you doing, sir? Good morning.
Good morning. I am doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well. We're going to have Joe, our brand manager and producer, Joe Gaither, joining us this morning. We got a lot of conversation to get to. We're going to hold the juicy stuff for just a moment before we get into the juicy stuff with Coach Nick Saban, the GOAT, going after people by name. Last week, he kind of talked in code. Was this a follow-up to his parody conversation? And Nick Saban, I asked yesterday as we were going off the air, was that a shot across the bow from Nick Saban going, okay, guys, now if this is the way we want to go, we've kind of tried to play in the same ballpark in the same field. There's been parity, but if this is what y'all want to do, I'm warning you up front. So is that what Nick Saban was doing? Maybe, just maybe, with the comments from yesterday. But also, when you look at it from the standpoint of other news stories, a couple other stories I want to get your thoughts on with Nate Oates, and I'll get your guys' thoughts on that. But I have a personal story, and Joe, I will thank you guys for covering this. The former Northridge star, Lydia Paulette, competing for the U.S. team in USA D2 volleyball team. Joe, you know how when I ran for mayor, they tried to say I really wasn't involved with the community was one of the things. I wasn't involved in politics, right? I've been coaching kids since for 20-something years. I won't say 30, but 20-something years, all the way from the time Xavier was like 5 or 6, and he's 30 now, so 25 years. So, but guess who was Lydia Paulette's first sports coach? Yours truly. She played basketball for me at Upward Basketball. She was taller than all of the kids then, but she was extremely shy and wouldn't really get at it. And man, I had to work with her and come on, you can do it, you can do it. And so to watch, to think about those moments when she did even, I think she may have been on the court because of mom and dad more so than her. Uh, and now to see her representing the USA on the volleyball team, you know, I always tell people my goal, Joe, when I'm coaching little kids in sports it's never. I mean, if we win championships, great. And I know everybody says the fun is in the winning, and that's true. And I want to win, but my number one goal is they learn the sport, and they may not love the sport, but it won't be because of what I did. But most importantly, that they learn the sport and they have fun, so that if they're not developed at that age, that they can grow into the sport and they have a solid foundation. So that's pretty neat thing for me to see. You know that I look back and think about. That's kind of crazy when I see what she's become versus where she started from. So.
Can we give you a little credit here? She's taken herself all the way. You got herself college scholarship, but
Mhm.
not only that, her hard work has got her touring all kinds of these cool spots in Brazil. I've never been down to Brazil, but I would love to see that Christ the Redeemer statue, and she's going to get to do that thanks to her hard work,
Yeah.
and it starts with one Martin Houston. So
Yeah.
claps to you for that.
Yeah, and I sent her mom a message telling her this morning I was going to give her a shout out, and I'm going to make sure that she knows to go to our page and watch that. Another quick not quick story, but another story. Nate Oates. Hey guys, what do you think about another big transfer for Nate Oates, 6'5" shooting guard, grad transfer? What Nate Oates getting in this young man?
I'll be honest, I don't know much about him.
I don't think.
But the fact that Natos is able to get another guy to come in and be a part of the process, and from what I'm saying, he's a defensive guy, and that's one of the things Natos really loves in players. I think it's a big get.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were gonna say anything or not, Joe. But hey, not only he's a big, he may be a defensive guy, but he chunks up almost 8 threes a game. X, so so he's a shooter, 6'5", and he's a grad transfer. He averaged 12, a little over 12 points a game, over 41 from the field, and nearly 40% from three, where Alabama, of course, fell off to the thing. What impresses me the most about him is what did Nate Oates do last week when it came to transfers? He called them out, right? He said, "I'm not." Kind of think about Saban saying, "Hey, I'm not going to bring anyone to Alabama that's not better than who I already have." Well, Nate Oates said the opposite. Nate Oates said, "I'm looking for guys who I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to be the guy who starts. I'm looking for guys who are good enough and have enough confidence in themselves to come in and compete for playing time." I heard the guys on the zone say, most grad transfers think that they should just come in and play. They don't want to compete. And right after Nate Oates makes that statement, he gets this guy. So to me, that says a lot, you know, about this young man and maybe what he's made of. So Nate Oates getting Dominic Welch, St. Bonaventure transfer. Like I said, averaging 12 and a half, 6'5", 205. Pretty good size guard, and so we'll see what he does. And he has that experience. So and he has 1 year to get it done. So I know he's going to come in hungry and ready to get things rolling. All right, guys. Well, we got to get Nick Saban. Um, we're going to do just word association. Nick Saban. I'm gonna just throw it out there. I'll let you take it, X. Nick Saban.
Ruthless. Man, that was something. Nick Saban doesn't hold back much, and he doesn't pull any punches. But I don't think I've ever seen him in that was rare for him. That was rare for him last night.
Yeah. So if you don't know what we're talking about, we're gonna go ahead and get the break. Come back on the other side. We're gonna have some audio of Coach Nick Saban calling out. Now, yesterday I asked the question: did he shoot a shot across the bow with the parody comment? There's no question shots were fired yesterday. Nick Saban aiming at college football and calling out 3 programs for sure, specific, and by name. If you hadn't heard it or heard about it, stay tuned for the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9, and we're going to tell you more about it on the other side. You're listening to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. Stay tuned for more conversation right here on your home for Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Everything pretty quiet around town as we start our Thursday morning. Of course, if you do see conditions folks need to hear about, just give me a call. 205-8886. Now you can get a lifetime powertrain warranty on any used car at Townsend Nissan. See dealer for details. I'm Captain Ray.
In a collision, easy decision. Make one call to one name. Mesrano, 206-6300. No representation with the quantity legal services to be performed. Take care of the quantity legal services performed by other lawyers.
I can go from 0 to 60 way too fast.
Who knew electric vehicle owners were having so much fun?
20 or 30 years ago, I owned a gas sports car, and this car is much quicker.
It's a great, fun car to drive. When you put your foot on the accelerator, it just goes.
They're fun, they're fast, they're efficient. Visit driveelectricalabama.com to learn how you can start having fun driving an electric vehicle.
Sponsored by the Alabama Clean Fuels Coalition, the ABA, and this station.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of a brand new ice maker dropping cubes into a fresh glass of water, making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Save up to 30% off select appliances. Valid May 19th through June 8th. Gas range extra. While supplies last. See store for details.
Retired Colonel James Henderson, ordained minister.
Kay Ivey had shut the churches down, but kept the abortion clinics open. Kay Ivey is aiding and abetting murder when she allowed the abortion mills to stay open. Lindy Blanchard is a defender of life. She adopts children. She stands for life. She's the most pro-life candidate for governor I've ever known. That's why I'm supporting Lindy Blanchard, the governor we need.
Paid by Blanchard for Governor, Box 241331, Montgomery, Alabama.
You're invited to join Awakening, a community-wide service that happens once a month, the third Thursday of every month, and it is focused on intimate worship and powerful preaching of God's word with no direct church affiliation. If you're searching, seeking, or desiring to know God more, you need to join Awakening on the third Thursday of the month. Awakening, releasing the power within. We're launching on May 19th at 6:30. I'm Martin Houston, and the team and I look forward to seeing you there.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Another sizzling summer-like day today with a good supply of sunshine. Tuscaloosa's high 96. For tonight, mostly fair with a low at 71. Tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny, the high 95. Saturday, a chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms with a high at 86. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 72 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Sophomore Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, promote and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904. Tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Just a second, I'm up there.
And you read about them. You know who they are. I mean, we were second in recruiting last year. A&M was first. A&M bought every player on their team. Made a deal for name, image, and likeness. All right, we didn't buy one player. All right, but I don't know if we're going to be able to sustain that in the future because more and more people are doing it. So it's tough, and people blame the NCAA. But in defense of the NCAA, we are where we are because of the litigation that the NCAA gets, like the transfer portal. Every time somebody wanted to transfer, they applied for a waiver. If you didn't give them, if the NCAA didn't give them a waiver so they could be immediately eligible, they filed suit. So the NCAA would back off and give them a waiver. So they just said, we're just going to make a rule where everybody can transfer. That's how that happened. So if the NCAA doesn't get some protection from litigation, whether we got to get an antitrust or whatever it is, from a federal government standpoint, this is not going to change because they cannot enforce their rules. Just like Nate said, we have a rule right now that says you cannot use name, image, and likeness to entice a player to come to your school. Hell, read about it in the paper. I mean, Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was a really good Division I player to come to school. It was in the paper, and they bragged about it. Nobody did anything about it. I mean, these guys at Miami that are going to play basketball there for $400,000, it's in the newspaper. The guy tells you how he's doing it. So, but the NCAA can't enforce their rules because it's not against the law. And that's an issue. That's a problem. And unless we get something that protects them from litigation, I don't know what we're going to do about it.
Wow. All right. Nick Saban sounded off on name, image, and likeness and defending the NCAA and saying, hey, something has to be done. First question, yes or no to both of you. Then I'm going to bring you back to the comments. Does this once again say that Nick Saban's comment last week was really about trying to set some guidelines around this whole name, image, and likeness and transfer portal? Was he doing that for his benefit or for the benefit of the rest of college football? Was that a warning shot?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a warning shot because when you look at Nick Saban in history, every time he's gone on one of these things, he says it because he feels like whatever he's talking about hurts college football. And then when all these people come out, call him a boomer and, oh, you're afraid you're losing your only advantage, this and that, he goes, all right, you asked for it. And he proceeds to beat them at their own game.
Joe?
Well, Xavier, I think that is definitely his history, but I'm going to take I think it's the other way on this point. I think that Coach Saban is a little bit. I mean, he's silly in this aspect because yesterday Leon brought up that everybody can invest on whatever level that they want to do. Well, that's exactly what NIL is doing, so I mean, it's just up to the universities. I think the Coach Saban is a little concerned that the Alabama people, the Alabama supporters, might be fat and happy with the 9 championship games in 15 years and may not be giving at the same rate as your University of Miami and your A&Ms and this, that, and the other. I just think that Coach Saban might be a little concerned that the ground underneath him that he's been so solid might be a little bit shaky going forward.
Interesting take, Joe. I agree with you both of you to a degree. I think it's a warning because I do think Nick Saban really you've heard me say on here like baseball purist. I think Nick Saban really does care about college football, and I think he wants the game to be sustainable. And I think I've been lost on the radio airways, so I'm going to link back in with them, guys. So hold on right here if you listen to me on Facebook and online. I'm going to connect back in with Joe and Xavier.
How he wants to attack and advance going forward.
Hey, yeah, guys, and go ahead.
There you go. There you go.
I got connected. I got disconnected, so I'm back. Go ahead. What I was saying.
I'm sorry.
No, you can go. You can go. Go. Y'all hold on, Facebook. I'm coming. I'm going to call. Y'all hold on. They're still going live on the air, so I'm trying to get back in on the radio. So y'all just hold with me on this side.
Before we get Martin back in the program, hey Martin, we're going to bring in a caller if you don't mind, Martin.
Go right ahead, guys.
He's coming right in. Jumbo, good morning. You're in the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports and Xavier Houston.
Hey guys, good morning to y'all.
Good morning.
I think we've been talking ever since this thing come out that it was going to ruin college football in a 2 to 3 year period, and I see that happening. But my thing about Coach Saban is, and I don't think anybody can say he's cheated because he didn't cheat at LSU. He hasn't cheated here. He went to the pros, but then he came back to college, and one of the statements he made was he's got a lot to teach kids coming out of high school when you can't teach pro football players anything because all of them think they know everything. So if other teams are going to pay their players for NIL even before they get into college, if Coach Saban does it, I'm not going to have an issue with it because everybody else is doing it. But I think he's the type of person where he's going to get the people in without doing that, then have them earn the money off of NIL.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. My question, Jumbo, to you, and it really kind of going to be my point today, is what's the semantic difference for him saying A&M bought every player on the roster? Okay, that's one half. What's the difference between him saying that and then earlier in his soundbite he says, "Oh, Alabama players made $3 million." So the recruit can decide whether they want it right now or whether they want it as soon as they're enrolled. But the difference is they're getting it when they enroll. They're getting it once they get to school. It's just a semantic difference that Coach Saban is trying to parse between. And I don't really know there's much difference in that.
Well, Joe, I would say this two things, and so I would say that there is a difference in the sense of you giving it to me, or like the kid, if the kid from Jackson State was told, "Hey, I'm going to give you $1 million," that's totally different than knowing that if I come to Alabama, I'm going to get it. That you see what I'm saying? Like if I don't know for a fact, because if you go to Jackson State, there's no other kid that's going to Jackson State that thinks they're going to get $1 million. Not one. But if you come to Alabama, you know you're going to get some name, image, and likeness. So I do think, Joe, that there's some advantage there. But if Jumbo is sitting on here and thinking that Alabama hey, Jumbo, you said Nick Saban's never cheated, right?
That well, it's never been brought out.
Okay, hold on though. Hold on. So has Jimbo cheated, or has Nick Saban said he cheated? Has huh?
Coach Saban said that Alabama's never bought a player.
Okay, but so did Jimbo. Jimbo's saying we didn't buy any players. Deion Sanders saying we didn't buy a player. You're an Alabama guy and heard your coach say that they bought someone. You see what I'm saying? The NCAA has not said that Jimbo cheated, and they have not said that Deion cheated. You're taking Nick Saban's. No, right. That's my point. Is just because something hasn't come out, I'm gonna tell you, there was a kid here. There's been numerous kids here, Jumbo, that I know there was a bidding war for, and we got some and we lost some. So anybody, I'm never gonna call a kid out and all that stuff unless they bring it out. But Jumbo, if you think name, image, and likeness is new to college football, the guys have been being recruited, and this is what Joe is trying to say. Joe is saying that there has been a way that things have been done for a long time. And let me tell you, Nick Saban does it. Nick Saban plays within the rules, are right on the edge of them, like all the great coaches have, and all the great coaches will do moving forward. Here's the reality of that, Jumbo, that there are guys who have come to Alabama based on different reasons and different things. Now, with this name, image, and likeness, some people say Saban's program, Blind Squirrel says Saban program sells itself. Nick has no need to cheat. Hey, listen, I'm not saying Nick Saban is cheating or anybody else is cheating. I'm saying they're all doing the same stuff. There are guys who have gotten promises and gotten stuff that came to the Crimson Tide, that came to the Clemson Tigers, that went to the Georgia Bulldogs, that went to the USC. Now it's just out in front. Okay, guys. But at the same time, I do think Nick Saban is both sincere, but also protecting. And in Jumbo, the NIL, everybody said NIL is going to ruin college football. So was the transfer portal. So was black player. Hold on. I disagree. So was Jumbo. You know, in the 70s, they said letting black players into college football is going to ruin college football. You know that, right? It didn't. It didn't. And this isn't going to ruin it. It may change what you and I grew up on college football. And that's what people need to say. The football we grew up loving, it may change, but the people who grow up on this form of football, they're going to love college football just as much. So, yes, is our game that we love to call college football in 2022 going to change? Absolutely. Is it going to ruin college football? Nah. I don't know if anything going to ruin college football or football in general when it comes to at the highest level. Look at what's happened to the NFL. And the NFL is just as popular as it's always been. Maybe not in Alabama, but everywhere else it is. So, I mean, it's just.
Do it. You've been on both sides of the fence, so you know more about that than I do as far as the inside. But I do know for a fact that ever since back to the 70s, players were getting money handshakes. I've known about that the whole time.
Right.
Even had Auburn players told me, and the guy's name was Johnson. He wore number 44. Come out of Sandy Ford or somewhere down there. He said he got them all the time.
Yeah.
So I know that happens, and a lot of people just haven't got caught with their hand in the cookie jar yet. But I really believe that this NIL thing is going to cause it to where, well, he's getting more money than I am and doing this and this. But NIL, from my understanding, was supposed to have started once they get into college. They
right. Right.
Contract.
And here's
on NIL.
Yeah, and that is true, and that's where Nick Saban's in the violation is, and in that point, he's correct. And I have to go to break after this, but I'm gonna, like I said, I see both sides. But Joe brings up a good point that no one's talking about. Everywhere else, when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to facilities, when it comes to support by the program, meaning the administration, Joe, who's had the clear advantage in college football? Who gets everything he wants? Nick Saban, right, Joe?
Absolutely.
Okay, what Joe is trying to communicate to us is this, and we'll come back and get Joe to defend or not defend what I'm saying in a minute. There is a limited number of boosters, okay? And Alabama has some unbelievable boosters. But when you start talking about money, in college programs, in alumni bases in college programs, the USCs of the world are going to have a lot more access to boosters, celebrityism, and sponsorship than all of those California teams are. Then you take Miami; they're going to have a whole nother set of celebrityism and access to money and alumni. And Joe made a good point. When you're desperate, people will throw their money at it, right? But when you won, 6 national titles in the last whatever number of years, you may not be as eager to get off of that money as the guy who's trying to get his first one. So just maybe Nick Saban has gotten some responses from boosters that say, "Hey, I ain't gonna pay that money. I'm not. No, I'm not coming in on this collective thing. I'm not." And everybody else at the other schools are just throwing it in there. So I think Nick Saban could be looking forward to a place where he will not have the advantage in terms of NIL. I'm not saying that's the case, but that's a possibility. Have to get the break. We have to get Hank South on. We already made him a little late, but we'll get him on, and then we'll continue this conversation after that. Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors.
Yeah, I just got Hank. Saban's upset. Ready? Turn us on back to one. We got Pat on hold waiting for Hank. Tom, I'll check on him, but I bet he doesn't have a recruiting question. All right, you're up to 2.
All right, we're back in with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, thanks for waiting. We had a segment there that kind of went a little long, probably talking about something that's near and dear to your heart. Nick Saban calling out Texas A&M, saying they bought some player, bought every player in their recruiting class to the number 1 class, called out Miami and said, hey, they're in the paper talking about how they're doing, called out his Aflac commercial buddy Deion Sanders, saying it was in the paper they gave him $1 million and they bragged about it. And I think he may have been saying that he was going to start doing it. He said we were number 2, but we can't sustain it. I don't know how long we can sustain it. I guess not buying players. So, how's the recruiting world out there, Hank, with all of the fun of transfer portals and name, image, and likeness?
Yeah, he kind of set college football Twitter on fire on a random Wednesday night in May. It was pretty amazing. Hearing him say that, and I saw Deion Sanders replied to him late at night, or replied to the situation saying it's a flat out lie that they paid Travis Hunter $1 million. Oh man, I mean, this is going to be the talking point for pretty much probably the entire summer into SEC media days, and then obviously leading up to Alabama, Texas A&M this fall. So, yeah, recruiting it's been relatively slow. In the month of May, there haven't been as many visits. Kids are kind of gearing up for the month of June with the official visits. Kind of reporting on official visits being set up. There's a ton of them. Camp's going to happen. It's going to really ramp up next month. But this certainly kind of this certainly kind of gets it going a little bit sooner with this quote, seeing all the reactions and everything. It's pretty crazy.
Hey, yeah, we'll get back to that. Pat has a question for you. Pat, you're on with Hank South, 247 Sports.
Good morning, fellas. Hey, with us losing Jordan Addison, I guess that'll take some heat off of Coach Saban, I guess.
You said losing him.
Losing him.
When did we have him?
Huh?
He was never coming here, man. Hey, Pat.
By losing him.
Pat. Hold on, Pat. You know what he just did, right? You back in the day, I can remember somebody liked the girl, and the girl didn't like them, so they got a friend to pretend to like them, and just to get the eye of the other girl. Jordan Addison used Alabama, bro. He would never come here.
He's going to Texas with Quinn Evers, and they're going to make a believer out of us in September. Oh, but hey, what I called about that was, hey, Nicholas, I think Nicholas, well, we just call him Nick Harbor, that how important with his elite speed is he to the University of Alabama? Say that again. I said with Nick Harbor, and it's I hear you. With Nick Harbor, with his elite speed, how important is he to this recruiting class?
Yeah, I think he's a big target. I think Bama really wants to get him on campus. I know they were trying to in March and April, but obviously he had track in the way, and for good reason. He was out there setting records with his speed. But obviously a big target, a kid that can do a lot of different things. That they can get on the team and figure out where they want to plug him down the line. But I think it's really important. There's never a can't miss guy in my opinion, but he's at the top of a lot of people's lists. And I think Bama really likes him too, and they just got to get him on campus. He's never been to Tuscaloosa. He's been to these other schools. So they got to get him some face time with him and see where it goes from there.
Gotcha. All right, I appreciate it, Larry. He just, you can't coach that kind of speed. I mean, we have a guy who he's elite. Anyway, y'all have a blessed day. We're having fun listening. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, X, your question?
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to this until we finally get one. Hey, is Eli Holstein slowly becoming Alabama's #1 target for a quarterback in this class?
I think he's already been up there. To be honest, everyone's saying Arch Manning, but they're both committable offer guys. It's guys that they're not waiting for Arch Manning to make the decision before they tell Eli Holstein he can commit. So I think you could, in that kind of scenario, you could say both guys are the #1 target. I think Eli Holstein is, ultimately the guy that's going to be in this class. When he's going to commit, I'm not sure. I know he's coming back on campus in June for the weekend. I think it's June 10th through 12th. He's going to be on campus. I think that's where it's trending. With Arch Manning, Bama's still in it. He even talked about them last week. Being in his top three with Georgia and Texas. It's just kind of a situation where he's not going to make a decision until the fall. Whereas Eli Holstein, I think he kind of wants to wrap things up before his senior season. So I think things are definitely more in Bama's favor for Eli Holstein at this point in time. We'll see if that changes, but that's my pick for Bama's quarterback in this class.
Yeah, it's gonna go ahead, X.
And my follow up to that is this: watching film on both of these guys, is it potential that Eli Holstein is the better quarterback? Arch Manning just has the name.
Yeah, that's been the hot debate on our message board, especially. Obviously, Holstein has the better numbers. He's got the better measurables. Arch Manning, I don't think, has done much testing. But I think with Arch Manning, obviously, you got the bloodlines, you got the pedigree there, and maybe more, I guess, projectability. He doesn't have those eye-popping stats, but he doesn't really do anything wrong either. There's a lot to like there. But Eli Holstein, you look at him and he puts on tape. He's got that huge frame. He's athletic. He can run. He can throw it. He's won the state title, and then he goes out and backs it up with all the camp and the camping and testing and all that. So I think Eli Holstein is going to make a strong case to be in that 5-star range as well when all is said and done. Especially if he does what he does again as a senior or they did as a junior at the high school level. He's going to have a good chance. So you're not going wrong with either guy. Whichever one you land in the class, you can see why Bama likes Eli Holstein so much.
Speaking with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, and I've told people you don't have to dog one of these guys if you like the other one. Unfortunately, sometimes us Bama folks feel like if we land on one of our guys, the other guy has to be bad, sort of like what we had back in the Tua Jalen era where people wanted Tua to be the starter. So they couldn't just say Tua is better than Jalen. They would have to start off every conversation with something negative about Jalen and then say Tua. Both of these guys, I think, are great quarterbacks in their own right. if you're looking for pure talent, measurables, and all of that, and like a game changer athlete, I think Eli Hosting is your guy. But if you're looking for a guy that has all the tools as well, and may step on campus even more prepared, because I'm willing to bet that what's his name has probably gotten more of the, this is how you read the field, this is how you adjust, he's ready to make audibles. Yeah, I mean, he probably has more coaching than any kid ever coming out of high school at that position. I mean, think about that family lineage. He has 3 former quarterbacks. So either one of these guys, I think, is gonna be okay. But if I was looking at it based on what I've seen, I would say Hosting would be my guy. Um, uh, because I'm going to take the name off the back of the jersey and just watch what they do, but you can't ignore the name on the back of the jersey. And so I think either one of these guys would be great. What is Alabama doing within the state of Alabama right now? I know last year was a crazy good class for the state of Alabama. What's this class looking like?
Yeah, it's this 2023 class is probably the strongest I've ever seen covering Alabama recruiting in terms of just top to bottom talent. Several 5-stars, a lot of strength at defensive line, linebacker position. You got James Smith, the cornerback position with AJ Harris and Tony Mitchell, obviously Jaleel Hurley, the Alabama commitment. Can't forget to mention Peter Woods or Quay Russaw. So you could go down the list. There's a ton of guys, and a lot of them are big time Alabama targets. You go beyond the number 8 player in the state, Kelby Collins. Is the number 69 player in the country. So he's a major Alabama target. Hunter Osborne, the 4th defensive lineman, he's the number 12 player in the state. And he's the number 127 player in the country. So it just kind of shows how deep it goes, the top tier talent that's within the state. So I think Bama's going to end up having a really strong class from home. James Smith and Quay Russaw, the 2 Montgomery guys, I think those guys are going to take their recruitment the distance. I don't think they're going to make decisions anytime soon, but I think Bama has a good shot for both of them. Tony Mitchell, everyone, he has a new leader, new top group every 3 days. And everyone gets worked up about it because sometimes Bama's not in it. But then Bama's in it the next week. So I think people just need to sit back and let Tony Mitchell's recruitment play out. I think Bama has a good shot for him as well. Peter Woods, I think out of all the guys in the state, I think Peter Woods is one of the most likely to end up in the class. I'd probably say the same thing about Kelby Collins. So it's going to be a strong class, once things get rolling, for this in-state group.
Can I ask you a question? What's happening in the state where these guys are, we're beginning to see, like Alabama? It seems like over the last 3-4 years, every year the classes are getting better and better. What's changed so much in the state of Alabama? Is it the coaching that these guys are getting? I mean, have you seen what's making that difference?
Yeah, I think the exposure and just kids getting noticed more. I think
Okay.
It's been great. I think with the emergence of obviously Huddle and Twitter and kids being able to kind of promote themselves easier. I think that certainly has kind of opened doors for a lot of guys and got them on the radar a little bit more. But I just think camps, coaching, everything has just gotten better in the last even the last 5 years.
Okay.
With kids and the availability to get to these things, whether it be these opening regionals, 7-on-7 camps, all sorts of stuff. Personal trainers. It just seems like it's kind of all gone to the next level. So I think that certainly helped, and that's kind of my evaluation of it.
All right. Well, tell us about switching sports. Basketball. Alabama picks up another grad transfer from St. Bonaventure, Dominique Wheat.
Yeah, it kind of happened quick. We reported on Tuesday that he was on an official visit to Tuscaloosa, and it looked like Bama was in good shape. I know he had just visited Texas Tech as well, but he took his visit to Alabama and sealed the deal yesterday evening. Committed on Twitter, and just Buffalo native, so native Brian Hodgson, went back to their original school and were able to. He's from St. Bonaventure University, but is from Buffalo, originally out of high school.
Okay.
But the kid that he started 105 games at St. Bonaventure.
Ouch.
Helped them win the Atlantic 10 Conference Championship not last season, but the season before. And they made it to the NCAA tournament. He's a kid that averaged 12 points, 6 rebounds a game last season and shot almost 40% from three. And he helped them win some big games. St. Bonaventure went to the NIT tournament this past season, and they've knocked off Colorado, Oklahoma, and Virginia all on the road. So Nate Oates mentioned last week, they're trying to add guys that aren't scared to compete with the current roster, and you kind of you got to like kids after he says that come in and that they're willing to put in the work and really add quality depth to this roster ahead of next season. He's 6'5", 205. Like I said, has all that experience under his belt. So I think he's a big time get trying to fill out these last few spots.
You said exactly what I said. Have to love the fact that right after the coach said we want guys who will come in and compete for a roster spot and for playing time, this guy commits. You got to like that DNA that he's bringing. Tell our listeners where they can find you, Hank, and what you got going on.
Yeah, demoonline.com. We're still gearing up for next month with official visit season. There's a lot of running visitors list, and it's growing by the day. So we're certainly tracking that, and obviously, we still there's gonna be plenty of follow-up coverage from last night going on, I'm sure. So good time to join. $1 for your first month, and my Twitter handle is @HankSouth247.
All right, that's Hank South 247 Sports at Hank South 247. Best follow in recruiting right there. Thanks, Hank. All right, X, tell them what you got going on. Give your closing thoughts, man. Take about 30 seconds.
Big things coming up in the next few weeks for myself and for you and the show. Might keep it a little secret for a little bit longer, but I'm excited about it. But you can find me at X&O Sports on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and across all social media platforms.
All right, that's awesome. Well, hey, listen, the Martin Houston Show. We didn't get to all of this. We'll pick Joe and I'll pick back up this whole Nick Saban conversation because unlike most people, Joe, I think you and I will kind of be a little harder on Nick Saban than most people, but every once in a while I'll take off those crimson colored glasses. But anyway, we're going to talk about, was Nick Saban right, even though it could be from a place of concern? Was he right in what he said? We'll finish that conversation. We hadn't talked about the Jai Hall thing. I want to get back on that conversation with you guys as well. And we'll have that conversation and all. We'll probably have another Fire Sale Friday coming up on tomorrow. I'm Martin Houston. Remember this: you can trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, always acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your paths. And I want to invite you. It's the night of awakening. Join us at the link 610 Watermelon Road at 6:30. Awakening, a community-wide praise and worship service with intimate worship and powerful preaching. Come out and be a part. No church affiliation. If you're searching, seeking, or desiring to grow closer in God, that's where you need to be tonight at 6:30 at the Awakening at the link in Northport, right next door to the church at Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide, everybody.
Listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9.
Have a good one, Joe.